Full life journey of Anthony Edward Stark, Tony. What is the true cost of genius? Is it measured in sleepless nights, in personal sacrifice, or in the weight of the world placed upon a single pair of shoulders? For Anthony Edward Stark, Tony, the price was etched in shrapnel near his heart and in the lonely corridors of a childhood spent in the shadow of a legacy he never asked for. This is not just a story of a man in a metal suit. This is a chronicle of creation and destruction, of a brilliant flame that illuminated the world and, in its final, blinding act, chose to extinguish itself to save all others. We trace the arc of his life, from a lonely prodigy to the architect of a new age. Chapter 1. The Forging of the Mind Journey 1970 to 1991. Anthony Edward Stark was born on May 29, 1970, into a world of immense privilege and profound emotional distance. His father, Howard Stark, was a pioneering industrialist and a founder of S.H.I.E.L.D, a man more comfortable with machines than with his own son. His mother, Maria, was a gentle presence, but the Stark household was defined by Howard's overwhelming shadow and his mantra, "Stark men are made of iron." Tony's genius was not a blessing, it was an accelerant that burned away a normal childhood. By age 4, he had built his first circuit board. By 6, his first engine. At the painfully young age of 7, Howard sent him to the Phillips Academy boarding school in Massachusetts, a place where a child prodigy was surrounded by teenagers, isolated and vulnerable. He was bullied, a pain he would silently recognize decades later in another gifted child. His refuge was invention. He devoured tales of King Arthur and knights in shining armor, sketching his first concepts for a suit of iron, a literal interpretation of his father's cold philosophy, dreaming of a protector he so desperately needed. He entered the Massachusetts Institute of Technology at age 14, building his robot assistants, Dummy and You, as his only true companions. He graduated summa cum laude at 17, a wunderkind with multiple degrees but a gaping void where a family's warmth should have been. The defining tragedy struck in 1991. On December 16, his parents, Howard and Maria, were killed in a car accident. At age 21, Tony inherited Stark Industries, a global defense conglomerate, and became its CEO. The official report cited faulty brakes. In a characteristic act of tortured irony, the young billionaire bought the brake company and fixed the flaw himself. He would not learn the truth for decades, that their deaths were an assassination by the brainwashed Winter Soldier. Thrust into leadership, Tony embraced the persona the world expected, the Merchant of Death. He revolutionized weapons technology, lived a relentless playboy lifestyle, and saw his company's stock price soar. Yet, this was a performance. He delegated the crushing burden of CEO duties to his resilient assistant, Virginia Pepper Potts, while he spiraled into a cycle of hedonism and deepening emptiness, his brilliance serving only to amplify the silence left by his parents. Chapter 2. The Cave and the Crucible 2008 to 2010. The year 2008 marked the end of Anthony Stark and the violent birth of Iron Man. In Afghanistan, demonstrating his latest missile for the U.S. military, Stark's convoy was ambushed. He was captured by the Ten Rings terrorist group, and his own company's shrapnel was lodged in his chest, inches from his heart. Imprisoned in a cave, facing death, he was saved by fellow captive Dr. Ho Yinsen. Together, they built a miniature arc reactor to power an electromagnet keeping Tony alive. But Yinsen, seeing a chance for redemption, guided Stark toward a greater purpose. They didn't just build a pacemaker, they built a weapon of escape. From scraps of missile parts, the Mark I Iron Man armor was forged. Yinsen sacrificed himself to buy Tony time, his final words a charge: "Don't waste your life." Tony Stark, the selfish industrialist, died in that cave. He emerged wrapped in iron, his heart powered by a new purpose. Returning home, Stark shocked the world with a declaration: Stark Industries will cease all weapons manufacturing, effective immediately. He perfected the armor, creating the sleek red and gold Mark III. In a press conference that redefined heroism, he broke the cardinal rule of secret identities. When asked directly, he simply said, "I am Iron Man." The inventor had become the invention. Publicly, he was a hero. Privately, he was a man living on borrowed time, poisoned by the very palladium core that kept him alive. His net worth, estimated at a staggering $3 billion, was now funneled into a desperate secret project, saving himself while protecting the world. This conflict defined Iron Man 2, 2010. Facing government pressure, rival industrialist Justin Hammer, and a vengeful son of his father's old partner, Ivan Vanko, a dying Stark descended into self-destructive recklessness. His salvation came from the past. A hidden message from Howard Stark contained the blueprint for a new, non-toxic element. In a spectacular display of genius, Tony built a particle accelerator in his Malibu home and synthesized it, curing his poisoning and powering a new generation of armor. Chapter 3. Empire, Avengers, and Demons 2011 to 2015. With his life secured, Stark's vision expanded. He reopened the Stark Expo, a futurist world's fair, and was recruited by Nick Fury's S.H.I.E.L.D. into the Avengers Initiative. The year 2012 brought the Battle of New York. Facing an alien army led by Loki, Stark, alongside Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, and Hawkeye, saved the city. In the climactic moment, he carried a nuclear missile through a wormhole into the Chitauri fleet, nearly sacrificing himself. He had become a true hero, but the cosmic horror left deep psychological scars. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, now haunted him. In Iron Man 3, 2013, a sleepless, anxious Stark built dozens of specialized armors, a physical manifestation of his crumbling mental fortress. He confronted the terrorist Mandarin, only to uncover a more personal enemy linked to his past, Aldrich Killian. The conflict culminated in the Clean Slate Protocol, a command that destroyed his entire armory, symbolizing his attempt to break free from the suit that had both saved and imprisoned him. He finally had the shrapnel removed from his chest, no longer needing the arc reactor to live, a metaphorical step toward becoming a man, not just a machine. But the mind of a futurist cannot find peace. Terrified by his New York experience, Stark's ambition to create a suit of armor around the world led to the Ultron program in 2015. The sentient AI he designed with Bruce Banner turned genocidal, leading to the catastrophic Battle of Sokovia. The fallout was immense. The world's governments, through the Sokovia Accords, demanded oversight of the Avengers. This placed Stark, burdened by guilt, in direct opposition to Captain America, who saw it as a betrayal of freedom. The Avengers Civil War, 2016, shattered the team. The personal betrayal was absolute when Stark discovered Captain America had hidden the truth, that the Winter Soldier, Steve's friend Bucky Barnes, had murdered his parents. The emotional wound from 1991 was ripped open, and the genius billionaire was reduced to a grieving son in a ruined Siberian bunker. Chapter 4. Legacy, Loss, and the Final Equation, 2017-2019 and beyond. In the aftermath, a more mature, paternal Stark emerged. He mentored the young Peter Parker, Spider-Man, seeing in him a purity he feared he'd lost. He focused on his relationship with Pepper Potts, finding a stability he'd never known. Yet, the threat he had always feared arrived in 2018, Thanos. On Titan, Stark faced the Titan and was stabbed, left for dead as Thanos snapped his fingers, erasing half of all life in the universe. For 5 years, Stark lived in retired solitude at a lakeside cabin. He had married Pepper, and they had a daughter, Morgan. He had finally built something no suit of armor could protect or replicate, a family. He was done. But when the surviving Avengers presented a plan for time travel to undo the snap, the futurist in him solved the problem in a single night. He faced the ultimate calculus: risk the perfect life he had, or let trillions remain dead. Donning the armor one last time, he chose to fight. In the epic battle of 2019, against Thanos and his entire army, Stark saw the only path to victory. As he had in a cave a lifetime ago, he used his own technology as the ultimate weapon. Seizing the Infinity Stones, he spoke the phrase that had defined his public life: "I am Iron Man." His snap erased Thanos and his forces. The cosmic energy that saved the universe flowed through him, a mortal body not designed for such power. He died, cradled by his wife, having given everything so his daughter, and all daughters, could have a future. His legacy is immeasurable. His technology safeguards Earth. The Stark Relief Foundation aids globally. His protege, Peter Parker, continues his hero's work. In the comics, his empire evolved through Stark International, Stark Solutions, and finally Stark Unlimited, a conglomerate focusing on sustainable technology and human advancement. As of 2026, in the comic canon, Tony Stark continues to confront new threats, including enemies who seek to replicate the very circumstances that created him, forcing him to forever re-examine his own origin. Anthony Edward Stark was not born a hero. He was a man of flaws, of arrogance, of deep and abiding fear. He was forged in the fire of his own mistakes, hammered into shape by loss, and tempered by love. He proved that a hero is not a perfect being from myth, but a choice, a series of difficult, painful choices made by someone with the will to bear the consequences. He was the millionaire, the genius, the playboy, the philanthropist. But in the end, he was simply a man who looked at the impossible and said, "I can fix this." And he did. Thanks for watching this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel for this informational content. Smile.